Your work is what drives the type of client that you want. When they see that work, you attract a certain type of client. You would find that in this work that we do, making people happy is hard work. Yeah, satisfying people is hard work, and it is not 100% your responsibility to make a client happy. You should try your ultimate best, but you shouldn't put that pressure on yourself. Why? There's no amount of money that you can pay me for peace of mind. I will always choose peace of mind over anything. And if I know that the people that I'm going to be photographing are going to stress the hell out of me, I would either decline the job or chase you away with price. You need to understand that sometimes clients don't know what they want, but they can identify it when they see it on your page. So that's why it's important that you always put out this content. It's important that you understand that at some point in your career, you are going to have to do pro bono. You're going to have to do free work. But look at free work as an opportunity to just show people what you can do. There's an example that I like to give when I think it was Burna Boy who was having a go at Davido. Basically, the notion is that Davido is where he is because he comes from a rich family. And my response to that is, I don't know too many artists that are as hardworking as Davido. Whether you come from a rich family or not, you still need to put in the work. He doesn't come out to say, Omo Babalo, buy my album. He will say it, and you must also like it. There's also, the sound is also good. He has put in work. We should also understand that a lot of people who also come from rich backgrounds don't end up doing well. Some of them are in rehabs. The story is not black or white. I think that we should never discredit the people who come from rich and affluent homes and say that that is the basis of their success. I think that those people should also be given a certain level of credit. To be successful in any climate, in any condition, is worth mentioning. Sometimes life is about self-discovery. Some people will discover themselves in a year or two, others will take 10 years. But as long as you're on that path of discovery, I don't think that we have any right to police where people should be because of how we expect them to be by now. Many people use Instagram as a yardstick to determine how successful people are. So they believe that if you are loud on Instagram or visible on Instagram, then you are successful. So much so that the people who are not loud on Instagram or posting on Instagram, they don't consider them to be reigning. Don't use Instagram to determine or judge how successful or how fulfilled people are. Never compare yourself to anyone. Comparison is the thief of joy. You are doing good where you are, but you start to think that you are not doing good because you start to compare your doing good to another person is doing good. So you see what the other person is doing and start to look down on what you're doing and assume that what you're doing is not good enough. It was good enough when you were not comparing it to somebody else. So never compare your growth, your work, your studio space, your camera, whatever it is. Never put yourself in that position where you are comparing yourself to another creative. If the question is whether a photographer can be a billionaire, the answer is
Welcome to another transformational episode of Selahmeditate, where we dive into the minds of exceptional individuals shaping our worlds today. I remain your very host, Benzik. Today, I have the rare privilege of sitting with a man whose works speaks louder than words, a storyteller behind the lens, a mentor to rising creatives, and a master of storytelling. His works has garnered so much acclaim globally. He has created so much artwork that when you see his works, you will know that this, you don't even need to see his imprint. You will just know that this is a brain behind a masterpiece. So guys, most welcome, my very, very highly creative guest here.
Thank you very much.
Henry Oji.
Thank you very much.
Popularly known as Big Cage Studios.
Thank you.
It's a privilege to have you here. Your works is doing massive things out there. So anyway, I see your works, I recognize it immediately. But I want to know, before I get into most of the nitty-gritty of our conversation, I want to know, what's usually your thought process like every day, daily, when you wake up? What do you think about daily?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I deeply appreciate.
Thank you.
I think the first time that I came across your work was an interview I think you did for Uncle Kelechi Amadi.
Yeah.
Then I took some time to go to your page, and I saw that you had also interviewed a couple of other people, not just in the industry of creativity, but cuts across different sectors.
Yeah.
I saw Maya Tafo, who is an icon in fashion photography.
Yeah.
I think I saw a couple of other people. Some guy was speaking about marriage.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. Usually used to being in podcasts that are related to the work that we do. So it's the first time, or one of the first times that I'm going to be doing this. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
To dive straight to your question, what's my thought process every morning?
Yeah.
Tough one. I think for me, my thought process would begin with the origin of creativity, which is that I fully understand where creativity comes from.
Okay.
Creativity comes from the number one creator, which is God. And if I do have a thought process, I think for me it would always be to lean towards understanding what God wants me to do. Either in that particular time, or even with the images, how I'm able to just bring everything out and give glory to God, because I don't think that the gift that I have is my gift, so to say. I think it is definitely something that God has given me. So my thought process is always aligned to, I try to make sure that it's aligned to what God wants me to do, either in that particular process or with that particular shoot or with my overall work. Yes.
Okay, now for people that don't know much about you, because we cut across every sector in what to win in, can you share a background story of you so people can get to know you much better?
It depends on who you want to know. I say that because I always say that Henry OG is different from Big H.
Okay, tell us both of them.
So I mean, my full names are Henry Eberichukwu Ojimaduweze. Ojimaduweze being my father's name. I am the first child from a family of 8. I haven't always been a photographer. I thought I was going to be a medical doctor. So I actually started reading medicine. I started with sciences, and I think with the typical Nigerian family where your parents either wants you to be a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, I wasn't an exception. My parents wanted me to be a doctor, but it didn't really work out. And I one day picked up my phone and I called my dad, and I said to him that I think I'm going to drop this medicine thing. It's not working for me. And I don't remember him being very happy with me at the time, because it felt like a bad investment. But I ended up studying international business, and I think up until then my grades were quite bad. I wasn't doing well in school. I think it's also because I was focusing on what my parents wanted me to focus and not necessarily doing anything to my strength. When I started studying international business, my grades went up. I came out with really good grades, but I'm not necessarily practicing international business. Yes, so photography for me came after my marriage. I bought a camera and started taking pictures in church, doing videos as well in church for different church programs. And like I always say, what used to be an interest became a strong interest and a very strong passion now. So I think in a nutshell, that's my story. If I infuse Henry OG and Big H, Big H obviously is the brand that represents the work that I'm currently doing. I like to think that Big H is not just one person, but it's an idea, it's a culture, and it's a group of people who work tirelessly to just bring everything that we're doing out.
Okay, now at what point did you decide that you want to be a photographer? As in fully, like you said, this is what you want to take fully.
2000. So I got my first camera 2011, December 19th. And then I registered Big H Studios April 20th, the following year. That was 2012. So if I say when did I decide to be a photographer, I would say between December 2011 and April 2012. When did I decide to go into photography fully? I would say 2016. Fully because at the time that I had started photography, I had a 9 to 5, which was a good job for me. I was working in my father's company. I had a good pay. But I think for me, there would be a time where you choose to settle for that passion that is stronger. You understand? And for me, photography became stronger than my love for 9 to 5. So I had to quit my 9 to 5 and focus on my purpose.
Your parents were okay with it that year?
My father is late, so I don't know if he would have been okay with it, to be very honest with you, knowing my dad. Not that my mom was particularly okay with it. It had to take some getting used to, you understand, because parents always think the best for their kids, and they also believe that they have the best interest for their kids, and they have every right to reason that way. And I just feel like there would always come a time where you want to do that thing that sets you free, that thing that brings fulfillment to you. And for me, in that moment, photography.
Are there some major turning points that you can remember that shaped your career?
There are a couple. There are a couple of them. I think turning points that shaped my career would be people related. Meeting certain people, losing certain people. A turning point that I talk about was when my brother passed. And I think that kind of just, affected me greatly. Still does, to a certain extent. And
your blood brother?
Yes, my immediate younger brother, who for me was a strong pillar for my work, biggest cheerleader, big supporter, helped me to think big. You always need someone in your corner to magnify that dream for you, and I think Ugonna was that person. So losing him kind of took a certain taste for the work out of my mouth, because if there was one person that I wanted to share my wins with, it was him. We always talked about where we would be when we're a lot older and things like that. And to see that, his life was cut short at a very young age, it was quite unbearable. It was a turning point for me. Changed even the way I photographed at the time. I would always create from a place of pain. And if you look at some of the works that I was doing at that time, you could actually see that. Other turning points would be, I feel like there were a couple of jobs maybe that I did that kind of just put me out there. I was privileged to photograph the wedding of the president's daughter, Zara Boy. I think that was a big deal for me.
I remember
as much as I know that she's my friend and was my friend even before her father became president, but no matter the circumstances, it's still a big deal that you were chosen to photograph the president's daughter's wedding. My mom was very happy. My friends were very happy. So many people overstated how much they thought they paid me. They gave you 12 million, they gave you 15 million. Like,
yes, so that was, could you charge 100 million?
And I don't do things like that. I gave the exact same rate card.
Seriously?
That I would give.
Your rate doesn't change, whatever irrespective.
My rates, I think it's bad for business to run your business because of the people that you photograph. I think you should have a standard rate card, irrespective of who comes to you. Dangote comes to me and asks me to do a headshot for him. I will give him the exact same rate card that I give other people.
No, I think it should depend on the project. Let's say.
Yeah, again, so I was getting to that. Okay. So the rate card has some rate cards have 3 price ranges, other ones have 5. You understand? And if someone like him looks at the rate card and goes for the highest and says, I have met people who feel like even my highest package doesn't cut what they want, so they want you to do a bespoke package for them. There are people who I work with who don't ask me for the rate card. They just make me do the work, and then at the end of the day they just send me money.
And you don't give them price?
No, I mean, I don't, because I have a relationship with them.
Okay.
Over the years, they've been very supportive of my business, and I always try to pay it forward. So yeah, the president's daughter's wedding, I think, if I'm going to be honest, was something that I like to consider a highlight. But I also recognize every other opportunity that I've had to shoot, because it's one thing to say the president's daughter's wedding as a highlight, but forget that every other job that I did leading on to that, or even after that, was getting me closer and closer to the different turning points of my life. You understand? So whether it is an Amina or an Nkechi or a Chioma, whoever it is.
And what year was that
one? I'm saying that I have photographed many brides.
Okay.
And I like to think that every bride I consider a turning point. Maybe they led me to other major turning points, because to be honest, if I didn't shoot all these other people, maybe the president's daughter wouldn't have considered me to photograph her. You understand? There is turning point. I held a workshop in the UK for Flash Masters. I'm an ambassador for Flash Masters. I think that was big for me. I was really happy about that. And then I'm a collaborator and ambassador for Sony, and that was also big for me. I get asked this question a lot about what the turning point is, and I really don't know how to answer that, because sometimes I feel like I am still waiting and working towards that turning point. It helps me to stay grounded. It helps me to have a purpose, basically, for what I'm doing. Yes.
Now, your works are more like an art that can be exhibited anywhere. Now, I want to get into your thought process and your process generally from start to finish. What's the process like in creating those masterpieces that you do?
Okay. I'm a big believer in God. I believe so much in prayer as well. And sometimes when I'm creating images and I get stuck, I just resort to praying. So I always give credence to the person who is the biggest inspiration for the work that I do. I sometimes sit down and I look at these works and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I don't think that I can even recreate those works. You understand? Some images that I have shot, like some people would say, some of my good friends would say, this image is God-given. You understand? And I think that sometimes when God wants to announce you to a certain market or a certain people, there's a certain type of work that is also expected of you. So my thought process would always begin with God. My favorite way of describing it is, in the first chapter of Genesis, where it says, in the beginning. In the very beginning, God created. So, and when He puts breath in us, He puts God's given ability in us to be able to create. And whether that creation is in music, poetry, sculpting, painting, photography, playing football, we are all creators in our own way. You understand? And what we must understand is that the creation should always bring people to God or give glory to God. I always want to start by stating that. My thought process would also come from Genesis 3, where it talks about how the earth is without form, and then God starts to put different things to fit different purposes. And I use that same approach to my photography, which is that it will sometimes start from a blank canvas, and then I'm like, let there be this, let there be that, let's put this here, let the light come from this place, let the plants be here, let's put smoke here, this. It's all about just fitting in different things into a blank canvas. And then at the end of the day, you look at it and you say, it is good. Or you look at it and you feel like, okay, let me take this out, let me replace it with this didn't quite work, and all of that. That's pretty much how I process things in my head. A lot of the images that I create also comes from personal experiences. Like I said earlier on, if I'm going through a season of pain, sometimes you would see me reflect that in my work, and I do that by trying to find joy in other people, if that makes sense. There was a very dark time for me, and I would always be there for people in their dark time and try to help them to find light. but I used that to conceal the fact that I too needed light. You understand? So it's different things. The thought processes from God, personal experiences, things that I like that comes natural to me, things that I'm inspired by. I also kind of try to infuse all of that into the work that I do.
Because what I'm asking is, the idea of this podcast generally is to be able to inspire entrepreneurs and those that needs to benefit or also grow. Let's say they're thinking of how they're going to achieve something like this, or how is someone doing something like this. They just want to be inspired so they can grow in their own sphere of influence, whichever way it is. So I want to get the idea. It's more or less like clients will come to you and give you the idea, or you just develop the idea yourself.
The creative process,
the creative
process would typically start from a phone call or an inquiry via email, and some would say they want to do a birthday shoot or a headshot or whatever type of shoot, and then the next point of call would be to send them a rate card. The rate card kind of just helps to determine a couple of things. One is that what is the budget for the client and what the client is willing to part with for that particular project, and then after that we would invite them in for a consultation. The consultation is key because consultation is where we have the conversation about the shoot. So physical consultation.
Not phone call.
Well, we do have virtual consultations for clients that are not based in the country, or I am based in Abuja and I do work outside Abuja as well. But if we're doing a shoot in Lagos, for example, and the client can obviously come to Abuja for a consultation, we will set up a virtual consultation.
But that's process.
Yes, that's part of the process.
Okay.
You almost certainly have to come for a consultation if you want to do a creative shoot, because so I have a meeting after this podcast, and the reason why we're having that meeting is a virtual meeting, and I said to the client, I want to know your story. You understand? What is this shoot for? What do you want the image to portray? I don't want my work to just be about taking nice pictures. I want it to also just capture a story, to have depth about the people that I am photographing. So she said to me, I will tell you a story. And then she sent me a voice note with the story. And she said, I would like to have further conversations about the shoot on Sunday after church and all of that. So this is the process, and the consultation allows you to get to know the people that you're photographing, maybe even on a deeper level. It's important that you know what their needs are, and not just that you are trying to impose your own needs or what it is that you want to create. Sometimes they want clean, sometimes they want drama, sometimes they want subtle. Whatever it is that they want, the consultation allows you to know what the need of the client is. And then even at the point of consultation, you are also sensing how you think you can bring their vision to life. So after that, we would do what is called a mood board. Sometimes we can forward the mood board to the client, help them pick outfits, for example, colors. Some people prefer to be in brighter colors, other people like darker colors. Consultation just allows you to understand all of these things. Then after the consultation, which is usually done by myself and the creative director, or in the case that I am not available, the creative director handles the consultation. And after that, we go into physical work. So sometimes we're having meetings with the designers to make sure that whatever that the designer is making suits exactly the vision that we're going for. We're making bookings with makeup artists, hairstylists, gala stylists, set designers, for example, because building sets is something that is big for us, something that we like to do, and we have relationships with a couple of set designers. So these are the things that we will do after the consultation. The consultation is not just for myself and the client. Sometimes there are other consultations that takes place after the main consultation. So we would have consultations with a fashion designer, Viandivo, for example, or my favorite fashion designer is Hudaya. I have a relationship with her, that's why she's like my big sister. So we talk all the time because we are working with different clients, and she would say, okay, Uncle Bigage, I think I want us to try blue. on this person? What if we put some crystal here? That is a lot of work. What people see is the finished product. They see the picture. They may like it, they may not like it, but if you do like it, I really just hope that you understand that there's not one person. It's a range of people. It's not just the photographer, it's the makeup artist, the hairstylist, the gele person, the creative director, the photo shoot stylist, the fashion designer. Every single person comes into play to bring that work to life.
Has this process always been in place, or you develop it as time goes on?
It's been developed over time. It's been developed over time.
So that means from the foundation when you started photography, this process wasn't in place?
Not as tedious as it is now. Yes, we have always encouraged a certain level of conversation with the client.
Okay, there's nothing like walk in, just come and snap?
No, I have never done a walk-in.
Even from the beginning?
From the very beginning, I wouldn't say that it is a walk-in because I never really had a studio at the beginning. I was operating from my house. So I set up a studio in my house. So you can't, your house is not open to business, so to say. It's your house.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's your family house where you have your wife and your kids. But there were times where, yes, of course, we had some jobs there, paid jobs. I wouldn't say that I put my house address on Google and say, oh yeah, you can walk in. No, we never really had a typical walk-in studio, and there is nothing wrong with walk-ins. I think everyone should experience that. We all experienced the walk-in studio sessions growing up with Studio 24, for example. You understand, and it's a business model, a very successful business model, and there are people who have also modified it. You understand, and added a little bit more creativity to the general idea of walk-ins. And then you have people who do bespoke, which is, they want to have consultations, they want to just enjoy the process. I love to work with people. You understand? So I think that the way I work, I need to have those consultations, I need to have meetings, and there are some aspects of the shoot that may not require too much consultation. Maybe like a headshot, like a headshot of corporate. I can finish a consultation over the phone in maybe 20 minutes. Just tell me the color of what they're wearing, tell me where to meet you, or whether you want to come to the studio. The headshot doesn't really require too much knowledge. Yes.
Now, I'm thinking this way. You from beginning, like you said, nothing like walking. You're starting from home. So how were you able to develop your client base for people to get to know you and start patronizing you, or to get to start coming over to you?
Okay, so during that time, it's a very good question. During that time, I still had my 9 to 5. So I would focus on my weekends. My weekends were set aside for photography. My weekdays were set aside for my 9 to 5. And if I was doing anything during the weekday, it would most likely be on the time when my boss is not around, or maybe when she's on leave, or something like that. But typically, we would walk around the clock, Mondays to Sundays, obviously, because Monday to Friday, you are at your 9 to 5. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then you're taking photography bookings. What was the idea? The idea was to put our work out there. Just post, share content, let people see. You understand? The thing about developing a clientele is that you must constantly put your work out there. Your work is what drives the type of client that you want. When they see that work, you attract a certain type of client. An example is a job, not necessarily a job, but I had met 2 friends. One was working in an embassy. Her name is Anna, German embassy. She's German, and then I can't remember his second name, the other guy's name, but it starts with V, and he's from Portugal. So I photographed the both of them at a place called the Shooting Range in Abuja. I reached out to La Tienda, Tango, a friend of mine, and asked her to give me some outfits that I wanted to do shoot. We were collaborating with different creatives. So we got Anna to wear one of the outfits, and he got his suit and tie. We went to this really nice location. They are not dating. They've never dated, to the best of my knowledge, but we created like a pre-wedding type of shoot for them. And then I put it out on my social media. Did I get paid for it? No, but I spent money. I spent money obviously with the maybe rental of the outfits, fuel, just different things.
You just organize them.
Just organize the shoots. Growing up as a photographer, we did a lot of things like that, and to a certain extent, we still do. And then when we put out the image, a lady from America, a Nigerian lady, she was coming into Nigeria. She saw those pictures and she said, "Hi, Big Age, I would want something exactly like this."
Wow.
You need to understand that sometimes clients don't know what they want, but they can identify it when they see it on your page. So that's why it's important that you always put out this content. What does content do? It helps the client to see what your strengths are, what your capability is. You understand? And your content should be diverse because clients have different tastes. You know, some people like this, some people like this, some people like that. So it's important to just maybe give them a bit of everything. You understand? Well, by a bit of everything, I'm just talking about style, not necessarily shoot baby photography, shoot wedding, shoot burial, shoot this. No. When you start, you would shoot all those things, but as you try to settle, you would maybe pick one or two things to settle on. So I do think that it's important to be deliberate about the type of content that you put out, because it helps to draw the type of clients that you want.
Now, do you remember your first paid job as a photographer? Your first, as in this is the first work you saw the money and you say, so I can make money from this job, from photography?
I think so. If I'm not mistaken, it was my sister.
Your own blood sister?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was my sister, and they paid me 10,000 or 20,000. If I'm not mistaken. So it was my sister and her friend, but I remember that her friend didn't pay, it was just my sister. So her friend still owes me like 20K.
Or like a birthday shoot.
I do remember that as the first time that there was some sort of exchange for my work. Then obviously for weddings, I think my first was 120 or 60,000, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember the exact wedding because I had done a couple of weddings for free. So when you're starting, you will do free work. You understand? Nobody's going to give you the opportunity
to use their money.
Nobody's going to give you the opportunity to use their money for experiment. Nobody's going to trust you with money. So it's important that you understand that at some point in your career, you are going to have to do pro bono. They're going to have to do free work. But look at free work as an opportunity to just show people what you can do and put content out there. So my first paid job, I think, if I am not mistaken, I think it was my sister Oluchi. And she's someone I respect because she's grown to be my biggest cheerleader alive right now. Always just rooting for me and wanting me to do really, really well. I think that after that job, I went on to do another job, and one of the problems that we had growing up was non-payment. Some people will pay you half and not pay you the balance. We didn't understand fully the business of photography, so to say. Even now that we still do, I don't want to say it on air, but I know a man that is still owing me plenty money. But yeah.
Oh my God. Now, some people will be wondering, well, you didn't just arrive at where you are today. There's a process. And I like hearing a lot of stories. So, at what process did you have some challenges, either with finance, or you come from a very comfortable home that when you need to finance something, there's money somewhere, you just pick it up and get into what you need to do? Or there are processes, sacrifices, effort, discipline that took you gradually to where you are today?
I think it's more the second case, which is that there are processes with anyone who has made it in life. There are processes. There is discipline. There's an example that I like to give when I think it was Burna Boy who was having a go at Davido, and basically the notion is that Davido is where he is because he comes from a rich family. And my response to that is, I don't know too many artists that are as hardworking as Davido. Whether you come from a rich family or not, you still need to put in the work. You understand? He doesn't come out to say, "Omo Babalo, buy my album. He will say it, and you must also like it. There's also, the sound is also good. You understand? He has put in work.
People believe that there's this cushioning that comes with when you have comfortable family. When it comes to you need money for something, there's this cushioning you just get.
I think
that average person that's coming from a very poor background cannot.
I think that we should also understand that a lot of people who also come from rich backgrounds don't end up doing well. Some of them are in rehabs. The story is not black or white. You understand? I think that we should never discredit the people who come from rich and affluent homes and say that that is the basis of their success. I think that those people should also be given a certain level of credit. To be successful in any climate, in any condition, is worth mentioning, is worth recognizing, so to say. In my own case, I had a 9 to 5. My father didn't leave money in the account for me to do photography. I don't even know if he would have supported my photography dream, because he had a plan for what he wanted me to do. You understand? I don't come from a poor background, so I have to state that. And glory be to God, we come from a very comfortable background. But would I say that anything that we needed, we had access to it? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No, I don't believe that. I say I don't believe that because I know how long it took me to save 500,000 naira to buy a 70 to 200 lens. Yes, I know how long it took me to save 500,000 naira. I remember that my wife had just put to bed at the time, and that money was taken from monies that was saved, and I didn't tell my wife because that's money that we would have used to buy milk for my son. You understand? I remember that I took that money at that time. It's so crazy what the exchange rate has become, but at that time 500,000 naira gave me $2,500.
Wow.
And that was what I sent to my friend Frank Omoya, rather. I mixed two names together, and he helped me to buy that lens. For me, it has always been, I have always wanted photography, or should I put it this way, I've always wanted what God has blessed me with through photography to be the fueling room for every other investment that I make. You understand? So it does require discipline. It does require some of these processes. You need to save. There are times that we have said, you know, this year and this year we will spend time saving and saving and saving and saving and saving, just because maybe you want to buy more gear or rent a better space or things like that. Yeah.
Now, how did you develop yourself or your style to achieve what you have to? Has it been workshop, personal trainings, or people you admire, you look up to, or things like that? How did this start for you when you said, okay, you want to delve into photography fully, and I started attending workshop, or you now start picking up some courses online and things like that? How did it happen for you?
I think a turning point for me was 2013 when I had a health scare. So I had to leave the country to go and take care of my health. It was bad, and if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't be alive today. So because I spent a lot more time in solitude and just being by myself, or just me and my family, it allowed me to do a lot of introspection and soul searching. And I think one of the things that I said was I didn't want to play to the gallery. I didn't want to be that photographer who was doing everything. I wanted my photographs to have focus. I wanted my work to have a direction. And I said, you know what, I'm going to actually learn and understand this thing well. So I enrolled in New York Institute of Photography. It's a funny story because it was an online class, and I didn't even spend up to, by the second week, I dropped out.
Are you serious?
I didn't finish it.
Because of money or something?
No, it wasn't because of money. It was just because I think it was a mixture of two things: impatience, and the first curriculum, I felt like there were things that I already knew, so I was like, didn't really need this. But I always say that I had spent extra $250 to buy a hard copy of everything from that class, And that gave birth to what we now call Follow the Light. Because a lot of those learning materials are the things that we use to train and teach a lot of the photographers. Some of them that you might already know that are products of Follow the Light. So it wasn't necessarily a losing case for me, so to say. But over time, I have gone for different workshops. I have attended WPPI. I have attended 2 Man Studios workshop. I have attended the Now Collective. I have also invested heavily on online materials. I have bought DVDs from different photographers that inspire me, and you take from different places. You understand, and then you find maybe the one that speaks to you the most rather, and then you kind of just settle with that. So yes, I think that trainings and workshops for people like us that are, I don't like to use the word self-taught, but for people like us that maybe didn't have a formal education in photography, and that's maybe the story for many people in Nigeria. There's an over-reliance on maybe mentorship with a seasoned photographer or workshops. That's how we tend to grow. The question on how did I find my style? I think style is something that is developed over time.
Over time?
Yes. I think the style is something that is developed over time, because over time you will try different things. It is just like going to school to study general medicine. You would have a bit of everything. Pediatricians, you would have a bit of orthopedic knowledge. You would do different things, and then you would find that some of them would leave the general practice and start to focus on their core. So whether they leave general practice and focus on being a surgeon, or being a pediatrist, or being a gynecologist, you must have knowledge of the broader scope, you understand, before you settle. So for me, that's the way that I have approached finding my style. I have tried a lot of different things, but there are some of those things that resonates with me more than others, and that's how I've settled on those ones.
How did you make that final decision that this is where I want to settle? Because there are different aspects of this. Like if you check photographer, there are different niches, different styles, everyone with their own feel. How did you decide to say, okay, you want to settle on this?
I have a strong interest in people, and I think that maybe that is what has informed my choice for portrait photography.
Okay.
So if I talk about fine art, when I was a lot younger, in nursery school, yes, I remember nursery and primary school. I went to Maipa Nursery School and I went to FET Staff School in Mina, Boso. And I would always come back home with my maths assignments, English assignments, fine art assignments, and other assignments. And I would drop all the other assignments to one side and go and be attending to my fine art assignment. And I had this thing where they would give us some assignments. They would give you the drawing of a book, of a house, or different things, and you were asked to replicate it. So I knew how to replicate what I was seeing as good as, or maybe close to what was in the textbook. And I remember that my mom would always say, go and do your maths homework, go and do your English homework. Artists don't make money. You understand? So I think that maybe what you see coming out now in fine art photography is a suppressed desire that I had as a child. That is just, bringing out his head, because I am in love with art. Like, I love art, and I know that many people think that Big H is a fine art photographer, but to be honest, I feel like there is still so much more that I can do with fine art that I haven't even touched. You understand? And I think that is one aspect of my work that needs to be developed. There are stories that I want to tell. There are deep stories that I want to tell with images that I haven't even started.
Do you majorly edit all your pictures, and what kind of edit do you, or most of them are more or less like direct from the camera?
It's a mixture of two things, really. I'm a big believer in getting 80% of the work done on camera, whether it be getting your lighting correctly or your composition correctly or just even getting the styling correctly. I had said earlier on that I believe in building sets, you understand? So a lot of these elements are present on the day that we're shooting.
So much so, most of the elements that we see.
Yes, so much so that when you see them, you might think that, oh, this was edited. And I started doing this thing where we post the behind the scenes, just so that people can actually see that these things are actually present there. And there are some fine art work that obviously allows you to spend a bit more time in post-production and editing of the images. So you would find that you are doing a bit of the two. Yeah.
Now, can you share some of your most memorable or emotional moments of your career so far?
Emotional, memorable. I think they are two different things. These questions always get me to think. Most memorable time in my career. I don't know that there is a most memorable time in my career. I had mentioned some turning points, like working with Sony, working with Flash Masters.
Or memorable works.
Most memorable works. Well, yes, I think I remember some. I talked about one recently, a prayer portrait that we did for a lady called Khadija Damisa. I think that was such a beautiful image. I remember when we photographed the former President General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, IBB. I remember that we drove to Niger State to do that portrait. I was a lot more younger then. When he came out, it was just me and him in that particular room. And when you photograph this type of people, you do not have the luxury of time. So you must have already known what you want to do before they come. I don't think that at that time I had developed my conversational skills. If I was to photograph him again, I would spend more time talking than taking pictures. Yes, I think I was more concerned about the image that I was trying to create than just enjoying the experience of being in his presence, so to say. So if I was to do it now, I would ask some questions. I would like to get into his mind. I want you to be able to see the picture and feel like you know something about him just from looking at that picture. I remember that I had asked him one question. I don't remember what the question was, but I also remember that I was sweating. I was not comfortable doing that. But eventually, the thing with shooting these people is that they help you to create 90% of the shots. If you photograph an iconic person, iconic person is always going to be an iconic person. I could do the simplest of things. When people see it, they're like, wow, it's amazing. No, it's not amazing. It's the person, that is there. Yeah, so I think that was also a memorable experience. I've been blessed, to be very honest, and that's one of the reasons why I find it very hard to answer these questions, is because I have been blessed to have so many experiences. You understand? And the reason why I struggle to pick out one or two is because I always feel like it is a disservice to all the many other things.
What about emotional ones that could say touch you emotionally inside of you?
Oh yeah, there are a couple. I talked about my brother passing. I got the news while I was doing a wedding in Kaduna. I remember the wedding was Anisa's wedding, and when I got the news, I had to leave. I couldn't stay, so I left my team in Kaduna to continue the wedding, and I drove back to be with my family and get ready to receive my mom. That wasn't a good time for us. There are other emotional times where clients maybe break down from maybe a photo session that you're doing. There's something we do called the window series, which is like therapy and taking pictures. So we are asking questions and having conversations with people, and then we're documenting every single expression that they have. Those can be quite draining, so to say, emotionally. For me, one that I remember was photographing Ese, a lady who had survived cancer. My brother passed away to cancer. So when they reached out to me to take Ese's pictures, I declined because I didn't want anything to bring back that memory. And then they said, Henry, we know that you would say no, but you are the only person that we can think about to do this because you understand. And I said to them that I would think about it. I later agreed, and that wasn't
very good.
It was a great experience in terms of the images that were created. Very, very beautiful pictures. Wonderful people. I am still good friends with Kelly and Lily. But it was emotional, especially seeing her daughter. You know, when you go through something like that where you almost thought that you would never see your mother again. You understand? Seeing her daughter share that testimony and just cry, that was quite emotional. And I have been in situations like that, even just photographing clients who are going through terminal sicknesses. You understand? And the worst experience for me as a photographer is to have my images used as a rest in peace or obituary. It's never too easy for me, to be honest. But yeah.
Now, if you can think back very well, would you say there is a particular job that or icon or individual that you may love to photograph?
Oh yeah. I always say that if God can grant me this wish, I would actually love to photograph my father. I was not a photographer at the time that he passed. So if there was one person by the hand of a miracle, it would be Ojimaduweze. He would make such an iconic subject to photograph. And the other person that I like to put is Barack Obama. Just like the way he speaks, like the way he carries himself. I'm not a big fan of a lot of what he represents, but I mean, he's by many world standards an iconic figure. Maybe you can add Vladimir Putin to that list. Yeah, but one of the things that I like about the work that I do is that I get to photograph real people and I get to witness their growth. So as much as I've mentioned some of these names, I also know that the people that I am currently photographing are big names for the future. So irrespective of that, I'm blessed to be photographing the people that I photograph. I've witnessed many of them from just being normal to becoming ministers and governors and presidents and things like that. And it is truly, truly a gift, to be honest. That's the way I look at it.
Now, from your experience so far, with the level that you've gotten to in photography, have you had a time where clients reject your work outright?
Oh yes. I think there was even one recently.
As in recent?
Yeah. I wouldn't call it rejecting, but I mean, the way she handled it, I would imagine that she wasn't happy. I put in so much into that job. I sent her the link to her pictures. I greeted her, everything. She saw the link and didn't even say anything.
Wow.
And that, till today, it still pains me. Do you understand? I learned from Auntie Tiwa. Auntie Tiwa is you should know Auntie Tiwa. She's a photographer who inspires all of us, myself inclusive. She said, if I do a job for a client, she said, I don't think she remembered that she said this, but it was many years ago. She said, if I do a job for a client and they just send me a one line saying thank you, that I'm like, no. There has to be something. So words of affirmation is my love language. So I want you to tell me how you feel. And I don't want you to lie about it. Yes. I want you to be truthful about it. So tell me how you feel. Not just about the images, but also about the experience of working with us. You understand? Because the experience is very, very important to me. I have experienced many people who send gifts just to say thank you. Gifts that have come even after they have paid you your full money. I've experienced people who have dashed plenty money. They say, oh, take, give your team. Oh, take, this is for you. So to receive a link to your pictures and not say anything, that wasn't a nice experience for me. And I now later found out that she was downloading the pictures. We shot her birthday party and they had printed a lot of them. You understand? And maybe it's not in her character to be expressive.
Yes.
Maybe. So I started to give myself a little bit of encouragement. And with that, we also photographed a man. I was thinking about his experience when I was talking about people who had not paid. And this one hurts me because, I mean, I did the job. He accepted the pictures. He was happy with the pictures. But it's just one thing or the other, one thing or the other, one thing or the other. Till today, no payment. You would find that in this work that we do, making people happy is hard work. Yeah, satisfying people is hard work, and it is not 100% your responsibility to make a client happy. You should try your ultimate best, but you shouldn't put that pressure on yourself. Why? Some clients have insecurities. You should not be responsible for their insecurities. You should respect it. You should see how you can help them overcome it if possible, but it is not your responsibility to fix it. You understand? I know people who they like this side of their face more than this side of their face. So when you shoot them on this side of their face, no matter how great the picture is, they just don't like this side of their face. So how is that your fault? As if you've taken a bad picture. I also find that sometimes clients don't know how to communicate their displeasure at an image. If an image is bad, there could be many things. It could be bad lighting. It could be that you didn't take the pictures well. It could be a styling problem. It could be a makeup problem. But in this work that we do, once an image is bad, it's a photographer's problem. They ignore all the other different indices that could have led to it and just put the blame on the photographer. You understand? So to answer your question, yes, I have experienced people who have rejected the work. What I try to do is to make sure that I win the client, not necessarily the case. When you win the case, you can lose the client. But I want to win the client and not necessarily the case. So if a client says to me that I'm not happy, I want to understand why they're not happy. Maybe there are things that I can fix. And if there are things that I cannot fix, or even after fixing they are still not happy, I'll do two things: offer to reshoot or offer a full refund. I don't want to leave a bad taste with a client. I don't want the client to go tomorrow and say, I photographed, or Big H photographed me, I didn't like the picture, I didn't like the way he responded to my complaints, I don't like him, da 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 da. That bad review can ruin potential clients coming your way.
Yes.
So the mantra that I work with is try to win the client and not necessarily the case. And of course, you would sometimes find clients from hell. You will. Once in a while. Once in a while, you will. And I pray that when you do, God will give you the wisdom to handle such
clients. So have you seen the one that will call you, say, hey, what is this? I'm not feeling this. I don't like it. Or I don't.
Of course.
What is this, please?
Of course. You are in the service business, and as a photographer, you are in the business of making people happy. Oh yes, you have to somehow understand that about your work. That people come to take pictures because they want to feel good about themselves. So you're in the business of making people happy. So if for any reason they are not happy after their experience of working with you, try and make them happy. And if after you do every single thing they are still not happy, then bad market. But don't complicate it by saying, I'm taking you to court. You'll hear from my lawyer. No, don't do that.
Is that the model you use, or there's a model that you use to handle client conflicts or quagmires within your
The
business?
model that I use to handle client conflict is to make sure that at the end of the day, I want it to end peacefully. I'm very attached to my work. So if you say to me that I don't like this picture, I would, first instinct would be to defend myself. But when I'm a lot calmer, I would say, what do you not like about the picture? If you say I don't like the way I look, I say, do you think you look a little bit bigger than you do? Because I can fix it. They like to hear that I can fix it. So I always keep that at the back of my mind, that is it a problem that I can fix? They get angry when they feel like it is something that you can't fix. Sometimes it could be the editing. Oh, I can still see my pimples. I can still see my freckles. So you tell them, no problem, I will redo it. The point I'm trying to make is show them that there is a solution.
What about some that will say, I just don't know, but I'm not just feeling it?
So yeah, you would find people like that. Continue the conversation. Somewhere in the length of that conversation, you'll find what the problem is. Keep them talking. Don't just take, oh, I'm not just feeling. You must feel it. So you have to feel something. You understand? It's not just possible for you to not just. So tell me what it is. And if you arrive at the point where you are the person who has done a bad job, then, like I said, is one of two things. You offer a certain percentage of the refund or full refund, depending on what you have signed in your contract, or you offer to reshoot if they trust you enough to do the reshoot with you.
You know, some people talk about the value of integrity when it comes to work and building personal brand. Now, has there been moments where your integrity comes into question, that you have to turn down jobs or things like that, or you just outrightly reject a job no matter what it is, just because of maybe asking you to do something unethical or something that you feel like you don't want to do? And how do you handle it?
I think that any brand that is growing should understand that the most important thing about your brand is your integrity. If your brand does not have integrity, then it's standing on a very faulty foundation. You understand? They recognize that you can take good pictures. You understand? That you can take good pictures is just an aspect of the work. You understand? Let them look at your brand and immediately just feel like, oh, Big H will never do this. This person will never do this. His integrity will never let him do that. I have so many examples of that. I always talk about this. I think I've shared it before. A job where the bill for the job was 9.8 million naira. It's a big commercial job. I think it was about 3 years ago. And we had concluded it was now time to fix a date. So they fixed a date. Let's just assume that date, well, I think that date was 17th of January, I remember. But I already had a commitment for the 17th of January. And my commitment was to speak at the event. The TEXA is called the Event Experience Africa. Yes, the Event Experience Africa. And I had given them my word that I'll be there on the 17th.
So the dates clashed.
The date clashed. Now I understand that the speaking engagement is a free, they're not paying me to speak. Do you understand? The best you will get out of it is, you know, whatever it is that they give you at the end of the event as an honorarium, which sometimes is a gift box most of the time. You understand? And I said to them, oh, sorry, the date is clashing with my speaking engagement at TEXA. They said, no problem, we would call the conveners of TEXA and tell them to take your name out of the speaking engagement. We want you to do the shoot in Abuja. The speaking engagement was in Lagos. I said to them, you will do no such thing. I called TEXA and I explained the experience to TEXA. And I told TEXA, in case you get any call from these guys, please, it's not from me. You understand? I told them, can we consider doing the shoot on the 18th? So after my talk at TEXA, I would come back to Abuja. Last flight or first flight. And they reached out to me that morning and they said, in a letter, we're sorry. We cannot continue this work experience. We have decided to go with another photographer. And that other photographer is also my friend. But I sat down there looking at this email and tears started coming out of my eyes.
Are you serious?
I was so pained. I was pained because all my life we have always wanted experiences like that. We have always wanted opportunities like that, not just because of the money, but also because of the profile of the brand that asked you to do their shoots. And then I said to God, you have given me this opportunity now, and then all of a sudden I don't get to do it. Why? Because I'm trying to answer good name. You understand? But like the Bible says in Proverbs, a good name is worth more than many riches. You understand? And I think that you would find that with this work that we do, there will be many opportunities where you will go through several tests.
But there's an agreement. Okay, you want to say something?
When you pass a test, it means that you're setting yourself up for the next level. You understand? By the special grace of God, as much as yes, 9-point-something million naira is a lot of money, we can get that from a client, not necessarily from a commercial person anymore. You understand? So I think that God has taken us to a different level, and we still trust that God will keep on taking us to higher levels. But every time that you're about to step up to the next level, there's going to be a test somewhere that you have to pass.
But if there is an agreement with the organizers of the event that you should go for the job, I think there's both of them have an agreement. Why don't you just go for the money job then?
Good. I like that you put that. But the person that organized has printed flyers. They have told people.
Okay.
People have registered for the conference. You understand?
I see.
Some people may be registered because they knew that you will be speaking. And then you let them know that, oh, in fact, let me be very honest with you. Texas actually said I should not come. They said, no, don't worry, please, go and do the job. I said, eh?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Since they have told you to go and do the job.
Tomorrow, when they call you for a booking, they will know that their booking has come at a price. When they ask you to speak for them tomorrow, they will not trust the integrity of your word that, oh, I will be there for that purpose. When you give somebody a date and you give them your word, then you should be able to hold them to that. There are times when, with, say for example, I book a pre-wedding that maybe, for example, they're paying me 500,000 naira on a Friday, and then somebody wants to pay me 5 million naira, for example, for a wedding on that same Friday. I can call the person that booked for the pre-wedding and say, oh, so this is the opportunity that has just come. You understand? I can give you another date, but please let me know if it is okay by you. If it is not okay by you, I would not take the wedding.
Seriously?
You understand? But if it is okay by you, I would so much love to take the wedding, obviously, because it's better pay. I have that kind of relationship where my client will say, no problem, let me know what the available date is, and they accepted it. They will even say, big, please go and take
collect your money.
The job. Yes, as long as there's that transparency between you and the person, I think there shouldn't be any problem.
Now that job is 9.8 million, like you said. In hindsight, today, currently, as we're speaking about it, do you regret it?
Absolutely not.
Has there been any other opportunity that come up that was better than that, or that is better than that?
There have been other opportunities. Those people came back.
Came back.
Yes, they did come back with a different job, and it was not
like the other one.
Yeah, of course, it was not as high as that. I did the job. It wasn't as high as that. It wasn't even anywhere close to it. But I try to not attach monetary values to opportunities, because sometimes you think that this opportunity is better because the money is better. No, it's not all the time that is the case. Sometimes the opportunity is better even with lesser money, and let me explain. If I photographed one person and that person is paying me $1 million to do the job, that person maybe can guarantee me 10 clients that can pay me 10 million each. If I lose that person because I decided to do a job of one person who would pay me 10 million naira, but not refer me to 10 people who would pay me 10 million naira, which would you choose? Let me paint the scenario again for you. I give you 2 clients. One person is going to pay you 1 million naira to do the job on this day, and then the second person is going to pay you 10 million naira. to do another job, which one would you take? Knowing that these are the only informations I've given you.
The 10 million naira of job.
Fantastic. Okay, so I tell you now that the person who pays you a millionaire would bring 5 clients.
On 1 million?
No, 10 million. But the person who is paying you 10 million is not going to give you any clients. Which would you do?
You go for the one that will bring you more clients, but you have to be clear that that is going to happen.
You are very correct. And sometimes, this is how God presents his packages. You don't see the end of it. It's yours to make a choice. And many times we choose the 10M because we think that that's the bigger value means the better opportunity. That is not always the case. That's what I'm trying to say. God doesn't always give us he may say, I will take you from point A to point B, but he doesn't show you the way to go to point B all the time. You understand? And in all honesty, sometimes I think about that job, but I don't regret it.
Okay, now good. Let's say you don't regret it at all. But did you, after attending that speaking engagement, you come back and say, thank God I didn't even go for that job?
Oh my God. I wouldn't put it that way. There's no amount of money that you can pay me for peace of mind. I will always choose peace of mind over anything. And if I know that the people that I'm going to be photographing are going to stress the hell out of me, I would either decline the job or chase you away with price. You understand? But no, it wasn't even that type of thing where I came back and I said, thank God I didn't do it. I just felt happy that I didn't disappoint Texa. Yeah, that's just that.
To you, what do you think is the most important aspect of photography or being a photographer?
To me, apart from God, the most important thing is the relationship that you build with people. Whether they are relationship that you build with clients or their relationship that you build with fellow creatives. Building relationships with people. Like people say, no man is an island. You can't achieve it by yourself. You understand? You always need people. But I think that I am a testament of what God can do with an individual, especially through people. So yes, I'll put people.
Now, what is one of the biggest collaborations or some of the biggest collaborations that you think you have done that has impacted your career tremendously?
I would say working with Sonny. Working with Sonny will be up there. Give me a platform for a wider reach. You understand?
They pay for you to reach people, or they pay you, or they just give you cameras?
No, it has nothing to do with whether they pay me or not. I think Sonny has a big platform. And if Sonny says, "Oh, Big H is going to be speaking at this conference," Sonny will be able to. Yeah, Sonny will be able to sponsor that. You'll be able to get 100 students or 200 students just because maybe people see that there is a brand like Sonny. Maybe at the time, if I had called, I may not be able to get 100 people. I don't know. Do you understand? So yeah, that's a big collaboration for me. There are a couple of other ones that are there. I'm not so sure that I can remember much. I don't keep a lot of inventory of these things, and the reasons why I don't is because I also don't want to get to the point where I am gloating or overly satisfied with that. I'm always just thinking ahead. I'm always just looking at what the next thing is. In fact, sometimes I even look at it as I'm still waiting for that platform. I'm still waiting for that opportunity. You understand? So it helps me to be grounded and it keeps me focused on what must be done.
Who are some of the most notable people that aided your career from the foundation?
From the foundation, I would like to mention Uncle Hakim Salam. Uncle Hakim Salam is an iconic portrait, fine art, landscape photographer. He's an artist. I met Uncle Hakim Salam in Abuja. I've always been a big fan of his work. I met him in Abuja. He used to always come in to photograph for one magazine or something like that. And anytime he comes, I always offer to give him my equipment, like lights and modifiers for free. And in that time, whenever he's here, I would also offer my studio, or let me help him with reflector, and just to be in his presence and watch the way he did these things was quite inspiring for me. And he's a bag of wisdom. He has an unconventional way of just sharing you wise things, you understand? And when you meet people who God has blessed with years in that particular sector, there's just so much that you can learn from them. So, I mean, Uncle Hakim Salam helped me. I remember that he had given me something called an ND filter. It was my first ever ND filter. And that just kind of opened doors into a different level of creativity for me. At the time, I wouldn't mention his name or answer this question without mentioning Obi Somto. Obi Somto is someone who has inspired a lot of young creatives in the photography industry in this country. Like I always say, when you have the Uncle Kelechis and the Auntie TYs, the Don Babas and the Musa, all those people up there, Hakim Salam, and then you had the rest of all of us. Obi Somto was the only person who came in between those two to show us what was possible. You understand? To show that young people could do similar work, or even maybe even better work, as you might put it. You understand? He's one person I call a mentor. He's not territorial. He loves to teach. He loves to share. He has helped me a lot in my career. I would always honor him because of how much impact he has had, and not just my life, but you know, in the lives of many young creatives. A lot of the seasoned photographers in Nigeria now have learned a thing or two from Kelechi. Auntie T.Y. Bello, I would mention her name, being a portrait photographer, being not just a portrait photographer, but one who loves God. I think that she continues to show that you can have God and still pursue your career, and that God can also bless people through your career. She loves to sing. I love to sing too. She's a very strong and devoted Christian. She's shown me the possibilities of what you can do with portrait photography. She has invited me to her place a couple of times, and I would never forget the many advices that she would give in those short meetings. She's full of wisdom, full of unconventional, God-given wisdom. She's definitely someone who has inspired me. Uncle K inspires all of us. When you go into any sector, you always want to look at the person at the top, or the person that is doing. Uncle K. Uncle K is Uncle K. I mean, Uncle K, in his age, I think his biggest strength is how he's been able to reinvent himself over the years. Uncle K has been a photographer and an artist for maybe 20-something years or more. You understand? And he is still relevant today.
Indeed, yeah.
And he will be relevant for the next 20 years. Because there's something he knows. There's something he understands. He's such a humble,
very
humble person. You would never, very unassuming, you would never see him and think that is the great Kelechi Amadi. He's great. He is iconic. Someone I'd like to mention is Mr. Onome. He's not a photographer. He's a businessman. He owns camera joints. And if there was one person that I would say is the biggest influence currently for photography in Nigeria, it would be Mr. Onome. He has a very large heart. He's always willing to support different photographers. He doesn't support people because they have big names. He supports anybody. such a great guy, and I'm happy for someone like him who, and I think there's one word that stands out with him: integrity. This is a good man. He's a man of God. He has a lot of integrity, and people trust him. There are a couple of other people on that list. Emmanuel Oyeleke is a very good friend of mine. One that, when you look at him, the one word that stands out is excellence. Everything that Emmanuel does is excellent. He would not do it if it is not excellent, whether it is in his processes, whether it is in his family, whether it is in his team building, whatever he does is excellent. And now he's into sports. Remember when he said to me that, I want to go into sports photography, and now he's a sports specialist, he's doing archery. Oyeleke is very inspiring. The list is long, just to mention a few.
It's good you mentioned Obi Somto, because I admired his work for years, such a very long time. But I don't know. Do you still communicate with him? He's been missing in the gallery now. What is happening?
Obi is a great guy. He's my friend. He's like my friend and brother. I don't know that I can answer the question live of what is happening to him. Nothing is wrong with Obi. Obi is fine. Obi is evolving like everybody else is allowed to evolve. And the thing is that we put too much pressure on people, and we think that, okay, who says that photography is the only thing that you can do? Who says that cooking is the only thing that you can do? You are allowed to do lots of different things as long as you are happy and you find fulfillment in that thing. And sometimes life is about self-discovery. And some people will discover themselves in a year or two. Others will take 10 years. But as long as you're on that path of discovery. Obi is currently happy doing, his baking now. He does fitness. You understand? He's doing so many things. And yes, he still does photography. You understand? I don't think that we have any rights to police where people should be because of how we expect them to be by now. They're like, by now I think that this person.
It's supposed to be.
I don't think we have any right to.
It's because we didn't know he started from and how they know he started.
Obi is still kicking ass. Obi is still in many people's books.
He has slimmed down it so much.
That's what I'm saying. So I talked about the fitness thing that he does. You understand? And Obi is on a journey. You understand? And he still inspires. I have invited him also many times for my Follow the Light workshop. You understand? And he's still such a great teacher. Yeah. No matter what, he's still a mentor.
Life is about phases and transformations and things like that.
Yes.
So once a phase is over, you can switch to the next phase.
That's the thing. You are right in that statement, but in his own case, that phase is not over. he's still into photography, and he shoots products, product photography, food photography. He recently came to Abuja. An oil company invited him for their website pictures, headshots. You understand? I tell you something. Many people use Instagram as a yardstick to determine how successful people are. So they believe that if you are loud on Instagram or visible on Instagram, then you are successful. So much so that the people who are not loud on Instagram or posting on Instagram, they don't consider them to be reigning. Nobody knows how much that oil company paid him to do headshots. But because he didn't post it, I think he's not doing anything. Maybe they gave him the kind of money that he doesn't need to work for the next 1 year or two. You are there sitting in your room saying, I prefer this person because he posted yesterday. This one posted. Don't use Instagram to determine or judge how successful or how fulfilled people are. And like I always say, sometimes when you are in doubt or looking for someone, reach out to the person. Hi, what's up? Are you okay? You just never know.
Now, what do you think are some of the major mistakes you think creative makeup photographers make that you think affect their growth in the industry?
Number one is comparison. Never compare yourself to anyone. Comparison is the thief of joy. You are doing good where you are, but you start to think that you are not doing good because you start to compare your doing good to another person is doing good. So you see what the other person is doing and start to look down on what you're doing and assume that what you're doing is not good enough. It was good enough when you were not comparing it to somebody else. So never compare your growth, your work, your studio space, your camera, whatever it is. Never put yourself in that position where you are comparing yourself to another creative. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's story is different. You understand? So don't compare. That's a mistake that I have made, and I've had to also address it. You understand? You don't want to put yourself in a position where you are depriving yourself of joy just because you are comparing yourself. The second mistake would be
on that comparison. Sorry, isn't comparison supposed to help you, to aid you to, put up your best work or put up your best shoe and talk about doing better in what you're doing? Because when you're seeing others work, you say, I need to up my game.
A lot of the times we do not respond that way to comparison. That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of the times it does more damage than good. There are people who look at other people's work and are inspired by it to do better. That's not comparison. Comparison is, I am happy with this shirt that I'm wearing, and then I start to feel like, maybe I could have also gotten this shirt. And then I start to feel like this shirt is not even that good. Why don't I have this one? It steals your joy. It makes you not to value what you have, because what you have is another person's prayer point. So I always say to creatives, never put yourself in a position where you are comparing. The second mistake would be copy.
Copying.
Copy.
People do that.
Don't let people inspire you. Let people's work inspire you, but don't outrightly copy them. Copy would steal your authenticity away. Every creative has a God-given ability to create. We already stated that. But every creative is also very unique in their own way. A lot of these creatives that I've mentioned to you, they are all different. Uncle K's style is different from Hakim. Uncle K's style is different from Auntie TY. You understand? And the people that love Uncle K, they don't necessarily think that he is better. They just love his style. The same can be said with Auntie TY. They love Auntie TY style. I love Auntie TY style. Do you understand? But don't copy, because you would always be a lesser version of the original. There is Coca-Cola and there is Cola. There is Fanta and there is Bijou. But most people would rather get the original than the fake. So strive to be your most authentic self.
Those are the two major ones, or you have more?
I would keep it at these two. I think the third one, if at all there's a third one, is a mistake that most creatives make. Many creatives are not making the best money decisions. I say this because a lot of us as creatives treat our work as if we are just a freelance. So you leave riches and wealth for people that are in the corporate sector, the oil people, and all of that stuff, and you just treat your work as if we're just freelance. So it's just, I finish this work onto the next, I finish one onto the next. I think that creatives should understand that there's a lot more that can come out of this photography. We can build institutions with our work. An example is Bayo Mobirowo, Kelly, George Okoro. These are people that are building systems and structures that I believe would outlive them tomorrow. You understand? So you're not just a freelance creatives. Make better decisions as it relates to money.
And I think personally that you can say, if you look back, you say you regret not doing or doing that. That if you could come back down of time, you would like to correct them.
I think that I don't like to have regrets. I think that a lot of the things that I have learned now have come from the mistakes that I've made in the past. The version of me that you see now is a culmination of good decisions, bad decisions, wise decisions, worse decisions. Everything has just worked together to shape this person. I think that I would not be where I am today if I didn't make some bad decisions. I would not be in a position to also advise younger creatives if I didn't make bad decisions.
Is this something you like to share? Those bad decisions that maybe helped you, or when you look at it, when you look back?
Yeah. Let's see. I think that sometimes maybe I should have had a mentor to work with. You understand? So that I can learn certain things faster. Do you understand? Having a mentor kind of just helps you to shorten the years. If maybe it would take you 10 years to get from point A to point B, serving under somebody, it might cut it to maybe 5 years. You understand? I think that if I had a mentor, the first time that I had done my bulk purchases of equipment and things like that, there are certain things I wouldn't have gotten. There were many things that I got that I didn't need. I just thought, oh, okay, I like this. This looks like I can use it for this. I'll buy. No. You get. And I ended up either dashing or selling some of those things. You understand? So having a mentor can point you in the right direction. Those are mistakes that that I've made starting up as a photographer. I have made some mistakes with people. I always say to some of my team members that I am learning on the job. You understand? And whether it is relating to staff, whatever it is, and being able to solve certain conflicts, I think that now I am wiser. So when I go back and I look at how I handled some situations in the office, I feel like if presented with those same situations now, I would rather ignore certain things. I felt like I was too hands-on. And sometimes when you're working with people, you don't want to respond to everything. I think being able to manage people is very important. I have made some mistakes with that, and I think that the mistakes that I've made with that is what has helped me to become a better leader today. Just those are the two examples that I'd like to give.
Now, what do you think are some of the, because as I want us to begin to wind down now, what do you think are some of the major business principles that you think if any creative embodies or adds to his business to help him to grow or to scale in business?
Trust God. Trust God, like your business and your life depends on it. Trust God. I was watching something on MTV many years ago. There was this lady about to perform. She wasn't necessarily performing a Christian song or anything like that, and I saw that she gathered with her backup singers and everybody says, let us pray. And they prayed. The Bible says, in anything that you do, commit it to God. So I think that even with this business that we do, I told somebody recently that this business is spiritual. It's more spiritual than physical. So trust God. Trust God to help you to be able to navigate these things. Then the second thing I always say is build sustainable relationships with people. There is no business that succeeds without people. Whether those people are your staff, whether they are your clients, or whether they are the people that are buying into your whatever it is, people are very, very important. If there is a photographer listening, don't be a lazy photographer. Work hard, but don't trust your hard work. Trust God. Those would be the three things. I say this all the time.
First you said trust God, and second you said people. What's the third one?
Work hard.
Work hard. Are those more or less like a principle, business principle that someone can imbibe to ensure you will succeed?
That is the three most important principle that governs the way I work.
Okay.
Every time that you see me work, you would see these three things at play. My complete and total trust in God. the fact that I respect and value people, and I think that people are very important in the grand scheme of things. And I like to believe that I'm a hard worker. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a social life. I feel like sometimes all the things that I do is work. But I don't trust my work, which is what I'm trying to explain. That you should work hard, but don't trust. Because when you trust your work, there's a thin line between that and pride, where you start to feel that you are. On my birthday on the 4th of January, one of my clients sent me a scripture, Psalm 44. And I think there's a passage there that says that I have not won victory by the strength of my bow. So the victory has not come because I am skilled in wielding my bow or my arrow, but that victory has come because of God. So I understand that wherever it is that I find myself today, as much as I have worked hard over the years, the hard work is not responsible for it. Because many people can work hard and not have divine favor. I think that my work enjoys divine favor. Because sometimes, even when I look at some of the work that maybe the client is going, oh and ah, in my mind I'm like, this work is not really all that. But like I always say, God is able to make sense out of certain things that don't make sense. So which is why I said, work hard, but don't trust your hard work.
Now, let me put it this way. Like someone now is watching us now and said, okay, I want to go into photography and starting from scratch, from zero. What are the top 5 things you can tell the person that's going to be able to help you from beginning up to building a global brand?
I'm not really giving that thought. So you just need 2 more things, because I would always put these 3 things. I would always put these 3 things. I think that you need to believe. You need to believe in the thing that you are investing so much time in. I always say that if you go to Dangote or any business person to invest in your business or to give you capital, you don't want to go empty-handed. You want to be able to show them that this is a project that will cost me 200 million. I have invested 50 million of my money in it, and I currently need 150 million. They want to be able to see that you trust that project enough to put yourself, your money, your hard work, your sweat into it. That's how you can also convince other people to invest in it. So believe in the work that you're doing. It's not just photography. It's not just makeup. It's not just styling. Believe in it. You will have doubters. You would have people who want you to do the conventional, get a 9 to 5 and all of that stuff. You understand? But believe in it long enough to win over your doubters. Eventually, over the years, if God helps you, you make it. So that's number 4 now, Abby. We're looking for number 5. Number 5. I don't know. I'm not very good at all these 7 steps to success and all. But if I was to say that this work that we do is like seed sowing, which is that you will sow seeds and you would reap a harvest. So be intentional about the type of seed that you are sowing. If you sow hard work, God willing, you would reap success. If you sow laziness, in another 5 years you will see the output of what you are sowing. Invest in the people, whether they be your clients or whether they be the people that you work with. I am a big believer in people because I have seen the influence and the contribution of people in my life over the years.
Oh, okay. Or if I can put it this way, if you have other things to share about, like, what do you think should be the mindset shift of any photographer that desires to achieve success in the highest level, or any creative person?
Believe that it can even be done in the first place. I went to Banana Island to photograph a family portrait many years ago. And while I was there, I was with my assistant at the time. And when we looked at this house, we said, wow, such a beautiful house. And I said to him, how many pictures are we going to take in our lifetime to be able to build a house like this, or even own the house. Life is not always kind to people that doubt. So you need to believe. That is why I always put God first. And today, that dream is even more a reality now than it was many years ago. Yes. Because back then, how much were people collecting for photography? 10K, 20K, 40K. Photographers are charging way more now.
Millions.
In millions, yes. Somebody believed that they could. Your belief system is so important. That's what I'm trying to say. Somebody believed that they could. And then you also have to walk towards it. You don't just believe. It's a big say as you believe, so you believe and you go on balance and you sit down and believing. Do you understand? So you also have to be intentional about the work that you do. Walk towards it. Nobody should believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. You understand? Nobody can. Just, yeah, I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense.
It makes sense. Now, it's even good you mentioned that that scenario. You talked about somebody when you saw the house, you're asking yourself how you're going to afford that kind of thing with photography. Because I want to ask it, because some people will see photography or photographers, no matter how it is, there's a certain level you can't be able to get to. Because there's someone I was arguing with one certain time when he was talking about photography. He said, how much money is he going to make? That he's not going to be able to buy Rolls Royce, that he can't be a billionaire. Do you think someone ought to be a photographer? Can you be a billionaire, afford all this luxury life that I think others are doing in the art?
The question really is, what is your focus? I'm not interested in Rolex and Rolls Royce. Those things are a distraction. They don't aid focus. They distract you from the real focus. Do you understand that?
Distract.
Because why are you going into photography? Because one day you want to own a Rolls Royce.
Rolls Royce. Build houses.
Or build houses. I don't think that's the product, the focus. Those things are byproducts of whatever work. Do you understand that you're doing? Because I mean, first and foremost, Rolls Royce is expensive. And when you put it into context, you start to look at the cost of a Rolls Royce and feel like I am too far from achieving my goal, and that can also discourage you from continuing on that path, just because you have set that as a milestone. Don't do that to yourself. Don't hurt yourself like that. If the question is whether a photographer can be a billionaire, the answer is yes. It is possible. It is possible that someone can become a billionaire by being a photographer. Are people not billionaires by selling fish?
Do we have any billionaire in photography now?
I don't want to mention the names, but
photography squarely, not saying you're adding other investment and things like that.
Believe you me, I would not mention those names because obviously we're on air.
Are you serious?
But there are billionaire photographers. There are people who God has blessed.
You say you joined the league?
I am working towards that. I'm still very, 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 very far. You understand? But I think that we underestimate what God can do with photography. There's a story I like to share. A small stone couldn't have been possible to kill Goliath. Goliath was a giant. He had killed all manner of people. But put God in something as small as a stone, then it had the capacity to do something as much as kill a Goliath. I like to see my photography like that. It doesn't make sense, my brother, that you can carry camera and go and be making 50 million. But somebody did it. They came to Abuja and charged the president 50 million to photograph something, and they paid. this was 12 years ago or more.
Mm-hmm.
If they call the person to do that same job now, that person is not going to charge 50 million. They will charge more. You are the one that is doubting this thing. The people that believe, they know. In fact, they've set other targets. Billionaires know their target. Maybe they've reached it and they're now consolidating with different investments that they're doing.
You know, the way I'm saying it is more or less, that one is more or less like one-off jobs. How many clients can you charge 50 million to do shoot for one-off? If you're able to, within a month or within 6 months, you're able to charge someone 50 million or one person.
Okay.
How many people are you going to charge to make $1 billion naira? Let's say we even go to naira. Let's not even go to dollars.
Let me give you one advice. Expand your mind. Don't limit your mind. There is just so much that can be done. The degree to which you can achieve something is also a function of how vast that mind is. When you don't see it, you can't achieve it. This conversation that we're having is not a conversation for these people. They have met that target and they have surpassed it. They've set bigger targets.
Squarely photography.
Trust you me.
Not productizing it. Because I think one of the fastest way to do that is if you productize an aspect of your photography.
You know why I'm answering this question? Somebody's watching this video.
Yeah, sure.
And I want them to believe that they too, they can do it. And I'm not even trying to sound like a motivational speaker. God can bless anything that you're doing. Even this work that you are doing. Who says that tomorrow you will not be the next Mo Abudu?
Sure.
When the angel told Abraham to tell Sarah that she would have a child, Sarah laughed. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. How is it possible that I'm able to have a child? I am past the age and the time of having kids. I have passed menopause. How is it possible? But with God, all things are possible. So, you doubt because it is your natural ability to do so. You laugh because you're like, Sarah, how can somebody make $1 billion or $2 billion from photography alone? It is not possible. I don't laugh because I have seen God do it. So I'm saying this thing now. People are watching it and saying Big H is a billionaire. Please, no, I am not. But I know that it is possible. But that is also not why I'm holding on to God. I'm not holding on to God because I want to be a billionaire. No. Where I am now, God has blessed me. God has blessed me with people. God has blessed the works of my hand. God has shown me what He can achieve with just a camera and a lens. That's enough for me to trust Him.
Yeah, you know, why I'm saying photography, you know, when it comes to business systems, there are processes and systems and things you need to do for those kind of stages. Even yes, the belief aspect of it is there. Well, I'm not saying maybe it's outrightly impossible for a photographer to do that, but I'm saying if you join with other investment, let's say maybe you're in the media, you are doing a whole lot of other things together, that doesn't just squarely mean you sitting down taking portraits of guests or individuals or things, snapping alone, from just the income of snapping alone, getting to $1 billion naira status.
I know a photographer who is fully booked until 2026. Fully booked until 2026.
Is it Bedge?
Bedge is always fully booked, by the way. He's always fully booked. I was referring to a portrait photographer.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to get Bedge, obviously, to shoot your wedding because, I mean, he's booked around the clock. He's very good. His work is excellent. But I was actually referring to a portrait photographer, and I know what that person charges. Do you understand? Where I have an idea of what that person charges. That is also another reason why I don't think that it's impossible for you to think that a photographer cannot be a billionaire. Give photographers the next 5 years. Just give photographers the next 5 years. There's so many people that are doing great work.
Yeah.
That have seen the possibilities. And you mentioned media. If a photographer decides to go into media, at least it started from somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you understand? and they're able to grow and evolve into media. What made Dangote a billionaire? selling sugar. What's the difference between Dangote and the person that's selling sugar in the market? The mind. Dangote has seen the possibility and the power of numbers.
Scale.
And scaling up. The person in the market maybe doesn't have the opportunity to do so, or maybe has not thought about it. Do you understand? Dangote is selling sugar and then selling flour. There's so many people that are selling and doing the same thing that Dangote is doing. But Dangote is the richest black man alive. His mind must be very, very powerful. Do you understand? I pray that you would interview me again and you would ask me this question, and I will tell you that God has done it.
You're one of them.
By the special
It will happen. Now I'm seeing AI doing a lot of things. Now, what do you think with the advent of AI now? What do you think is the future of photography? Do you think it's going to kill it or enhance it?
I've been asked this question a lot, and when AI came, many people were panicking. I was one of the people that were panicking. But I understand one thing, that AI is a tool like Photoshop, Lightroom, and all these other softwares that were there before AI. AI can only function when you give an information to AI. So AI needs you to function. Do you understand? We must learn to continue to use AI as a tool. And if you're using it as a tool, then it now therefore has a master, so to say. Do you understand? So, and then I think for us, we should also strive to be better. We can no longer be business as usual, because now is it the scale or I'm trying to say that the expectations are now higher. You understand? Obviously, with the introduction of AI. Do you understand?
Yes.
I see that people sometimes don't even need to do headshots. They can just put their picture on the software, and the software will just give them headshots. We need to continue to show that we are the final bus stop, so to say, for all things creativity. I don't think there's anything wrong with using AI as a tool to also kind of enhance your work and things like that. But I would like to say that the future of photography is still very, very intact. AI has been out there for a good 5 years or more, and I think photographers are even making more money 5 years later than they were 5 years ago.
Have you ever done Pakapa before? Ever?
Pakapa, that is wait and take.
Wait and take?
No.
Never?
No,
even from your starts?
No, I've never done. No, I've never done wait and take. Like I said, I had the 9 to 5. You understand? So there was no opportunity to do wait and take. But I've shot for free, so I think it's even lesser than wait and take. Yeah.
So you've not done it before. Now I want to know about your system and your structures. What's the right? What do you think should be the best system of structures, or how photographer can set that right system and structure that can aid their business and workflow?
Systems and structures are very, very important. I mentioned that we should be looking at building institutions as creatives. Those systems and structures could be for HR, personnel management. It could be the systems that you've put in place to attend to maybe when a client calls or makes an inquiry or consultation that we talked about. When you finish shooting, what's the process of selection, color grading, editing, printing of the book, all that stuff. These things are important. You want to be able to put these systems in place so that even when you are there or not there, things are still moving. I think that in this time and age, the idea of working as a lone ranger should be changing now. I think that we should be looking at involving people in the work that we do. We are no longer just that one-man army. You can't do it by yourself. You need to start thinking about building a team. Understand? Yes.
So what's more like your staff capacity at the moment? Do you have many people working for you, or just one of you?
Maybe 10.
Okay.
At the moment, maybe 10.
Full time?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe 10, and then we also have other people that we're able to call because we have an academy called Follow the Light. And sometimes when we are stressed with especially maybe shooting weddings, we can always call some of our alumni from Follow the Light to assist us with work.
And what should we be expecting from the brand BKH, and how do you give back to the society?
Oh, how do we give back to the society? Follow the Light is one way where I believe we give back to the society. Just, it's the academy where we just pour back to people, and those people in turn go back and bless the society.
Paid workshops.
Yes, the paid workshop. And we do a lot of, it's not a workshop, it's a class, it's a 2-month class. But we do a lot of free workshops here and there. In a year, we can do like maybe 3 workshops.
If someone wants to register for the Follow the Light, what is the cost and what is it?
I don't know anything about Follow the Light these days because there's a committee now that handles Follow the Light. So I've taken myself away from the day-to-day running and activity of Follow the Light. It used to be called Big Age Photography Class. But I wanted Follow the Light to still be relevant even long after I'm gone. And I think we're in the process of just removing Big Age entirely from it. So the committee would let me know when they decide on costings and all the other things that they're currently doing. But if anybody wants to register for Follow the Light, they should just go to followthelight_BigH on Instagram, sending your inquiry, or just join the mailing list. The link for the registration will be out any moment from now, maybe in the next 1 week. 1 week from when we did this video, not when you release it.
And that's true. Now, if somebody is watching us now, maybe there is something you have in mind, or this person may say, I would like to hear this question, but I don't know. I didn't ask it, and you have it in mind, and you'd like to share. What would it be?
I don't know. I think the question would be, Big H, have you ever considered quitting photography since you started photography? And in your consideration, did you? And if you didn't, why didn't you? Or what led to it? I think that would be the question. And then if somebody was asking that question, the answer would be yes. I think that many times I have felt like maybe now is the time to stop. Or to quit. Or to take a sustained break and then come back maybe after a year. But the way the world is moving, you can't stop photography for 1 year and then resume
again.
And then
you'll be wiped out.
So either loss has led to that pain, or sometimes just having consistent issues with certain clients can also put you in that frame of mind. You understand? I did mention that I'm very attached to my work and my processes, so some of these things I feel it even on a deeper level. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to do it again, I'm just tired. Do you understand? But in those moments, you have to also remember why you started. You have to remember that there are people that are looking up to you. You have to remember that there are people that are depending on you. You understand? And if you want to take a break, take a short break. Get yourself back together and, get yourself up and running again.
Back again.
Yes.
I don't lose yourself in the process.
No, do not.
Okay, what would be your general final advice that you would like to share to individuals and everybody, or business people, entrepreneurs, or creatives, that maybe you didn't talk about that you could add?
Final advice?
Yes.
You can make it in any condition. You can make it in any economy. Jacob sowed a seed in a land of famine and reaped 100-fold in that same year. So change your mindset about the economy that you're currently operating in. Whether Tinubu is in power or another person is in power, it does not change what God can do. So have the mindset that you are running a heavenly economy, and that God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above and beyond that which we have asked or that which we can think. So see your relationship with God like that. See your relationship with your business like that, that you can make it even if dollar is $2,000 to $1 tomorrow. You can make it. Just trust God.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very
Thank
much,
you
sir.
so much, brother. Thank you so much, boss. This is highly inspiring.
Thank you very much.
Highly inspiring.
I appreciate it.
So, guys, thank my very wonderful,
Thank you.
powerful guest, Big H,
Thank you
also
very
known
much.
as Henry Oji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Henry
Thank you for
Oji.
Henry
Oji.
Oji.
is
Oji is an Igbo name now.
no, Oji is ORJI. Mine
Okay.
is OGI.
Where are you from?
Abia State.
Abia State.
Yes.
Abia. They put R in their Oji.
Yes, so my father's name is Oji Madu.
Okay.
Oji is a different name entirely.
Oh.
And Abia people answer Oji, yes.
Now I get it. So guys, thank you so much once again for this very highly inspiring episode. If you're coming down for the first time, do it to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to turn on post notification and share this video with others that who this is going to inspire. If you'd like to share, people can be able to reach out to you, contact you business-wise, any way you can share.
Yes, you can please follow us on YouTube, Big H Studios, Instagram, Big H Studios, and Big H Weddings. If you're following us on YouTube, please subscribe, share. I'm not very consistent with putting YouTube work, but we're going to do better by God's grace.
So that is it. Follow him also on all social media platforms. So thank you once again, and I'm going to see you. I remain your host, Benzik, and I'll see you once again next time. Cheers.